Welcome to the show, Barry Perkins. You are founder, chairman, and CEO of Tesseract Group, former Oracle executive, investor, and entrepreneur, co-founder of Global Mental Health and Wellness Foundation, also Hived Music or Hive Incorporated as well. Lots to talk with you about, Barry. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do tell us more.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on. Skyler and I have spent a lot of time on email and phone over the last, or Zoom over the last while. So we're very closely aligned in what you guys are trying to accomplish with Music for Global Change, right?
It's wonderful because you get it. And God bless you for that, man.
It's been such a pleasure, Skyler, to meet you. Somebody who actually is so aligned with what I've been my whole life trying to go through and make the world a better place. And it gets a little lonely sometimes when you read, in the news, and everything you hear is gloom and doom and, all that kind of stuff. And yet, life keeps going on. Why can't we focus on some of the good things as well? And, when there are problems, I always see them as opportunities. They're opportunities to fix something. And that's what I do. It's been the salmon swimming uphill or upstream, but I like it.
The wonderful thing about it is once we do depart this side of the dirt, right? We helped a lot of people.
I certainly hope I have. I always ask myself in the background, the road to wherever is paved with good intentions. I sometimes worry that make sure that my good intentions are actually good intentions for others. They're not self-serving good intentions.
I love that because, like I said, leaving here, knowing that I help some young people write about positive vibes, positive vibrations as an alternative, you know what I mean? Like I said, give bad news some competition.
And, that is, when you talk about young people, that I think is very, very important. As you know, I've been focused in the mental wellness space and health space for quite some time. And one of the areas that I've found disturbing and frustrating, partly because I've been in tech my whole life, or in my whole working life.
Yeah.
And we build tech, but I treat tech as a tool for humanity. The concept of most social media platforms out there is in theory to connect people, but it actually tends to more disconnect people. And it has become a problem for young people because when they're on other platforms, they see a nonstop feed of all of the problems in the world. They look at the news. They were born and live digitally, right? Even though they're analog beings, they look everything through a screen. And all they see is bad stuff. Then they go on something like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, and they see these people living wonderful lives. And they start to say, well, what's wrong with me? And it's been shown in studies that this leads to depression in young folks. And then there's this high rate of suicide for young folks. And they grow up thinking, well, gee, this is a world that's going to hell in a handbasket. And what's in it? And what you're doing about the whole idea of positive music and positive lyrics in music and teaching them to look for the good things and sing about the good things, I think that will go a long way to help draw young folks into, there is some good stuff. It isn't all bad.
I love that we're having these conversations right now because back in the States, I was trying to get this going. I've been doing this like 20 years, but I tried to get it going and nobody is like, good luck with that, Sky.
I know. And then everybody says, well, when it's something is for social good, it can't be good business.
I'm only saying, right?
It's like, I'm sorry. One of the things I tend to be quite good at is I'm really good at helping businesses monetize and commercialize their business and grow their business. And I can do that at the same time as making it good for the social good of humanity. And I've shown that over and over and over. And when I was at Oracle working with other companies, we did that. And now on my own, setting up companies, and the investors will say, oh, well, it's a wonderful idea. Good luck with that. And then they're done.
That's right. I get to see the young people when they actually do write a social conscious song. Because I challenge them. I say, you know what? Write your love songs, whatever you want to say, your personal stuff. And then change it up and write something about something that could help us.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Is something could help us, but also not just always about ourselves. If we go through and we look at just ourselves all the time, that's a pretty narrow focus on life. You get too caught up on all of the little bits of yourself because you look at yourself and you can never compare with. There's always somebody better at something, and they're better looking, or they're more intelligent, or they're more athletic, or they're more social, right?
It's a competition.
Yeah, it is a competition, and it shouldn't be, because each person is beautifully unique. They are who they are. And I think, like, one of the important things is in life is finding out who we are and who we are in relation to others. And not everybody should have the same focus as us, but the focus on serving humanity, I find that it's a challenge, but it's a good challenge. As you said earlier, I hope I leave this side of the dirt, not just feeling, but having actually made a difference positively.
Mm-hmm.
That's happening right now, because this conversation will be, in the web land for forever, right? People will be able to look back on this. When did this happen? When did people start waking up to the benefits of social conscious music? It has no competition. So now you start putting all this positive music everywhere, right? And people start gravitating to that, like, man, finally, life ain't all bad, right? You know what I mean? You make that contagious, man. That's what my movement is about. See, I love it when I speak to maybe 500 kids, and maybe only 25 or 30 of them call me back. And they go, Skyler, I get it. Because I tell them, social conscious music is, it's not flamboyant or anything like that, right? It's about your lyrical content and how you feel about the world and how you can make others feel about the world. I want you to play all the bad stuff that you got. Go play it all. And I'm going to come into some music. Hey, man, yeah.
Well,
right?
and maybe contrast that. You start with that and then put something that's a little positive to take it. So maybe this is where you feel you are at this moment, but it doesn't mean you have to stay there. Right?
And that's
know that. That's your life. Your life has been like that, about that. Where did you start? And when you first started with where you were, you had a lot of challenges to face and to overcome them. It was not a party. And you had to find a way and a path and realize that you didn't have to stay there. You could change it and make a difference. And now you're passing that on.
I'm watching it happen, though. It's beautiful, because I ask people, I say, have you written any social conscious songs? And I know they've written thousands of love songs, right? because there's over 5 billion love songs. There's only 192 million social conscious songs. Let's raise the level. We just got to spread that to the young people so that we can go do concerts, the good news concerts, right?
And I do think love songs can also be positive lyrics. They're all not, achy breaky heart. And
No. The social conscious songs I was writing at first had to do with the environment and homelessness and all stuff. But once I did this one positive song, I said, that's what they're looking for, right? If they start singing along with you, you know what I mean? You're on to something, right? Tom, you got a question?
I have. Well, just to segue into that slightly there, just regarding the music, the side, as I love a good segue, is I just want to talk about Hived Incorporated for you. What was your sort of reason for going into that? What does it do? Just tell us a little bit about the music arm of what you're doing.
Well, so that's an interesting question. And it has been an interesting journey. When I left Oracle, I vowed that I would work on and with businesses that were making a positive difference in the world, not just out for a dollar. Right. And I've founded a number of different tech companies. I've supported many others as we've gone along. And about 3.5 years ago, I was at an event and I met 2 people there. Amit Rathore, he's a friend, and Nancy Rivian. Now, Amit is somebody who is really a thought leader in where the world of tech is going, right? He really lives out in the wild blue horizon of what the world of possible is. And he was talking about a concept that he had for a technology platform that he was building. And I helped him refine that, and he defined the protocol technical layers. But I'm a business guy. I'm an engineering background, but a business guy. So I helped him realize there had to be business protocols, and we added that layer on top. And we looked at where it was going. Initially, we started off way too big. We were trying to boil the ocean. That's
Yeah.
that's my nature, right? And and this, along with my two greatest challenges in life, I try and solve for perfection, and I try and solve for forever. Neither of which is possible, right? The only way you deal with the future is living in the moment, and it's really, really hard for me to remember that. But when we built out the tech platform, and we had to have businesses that would run on top of them and leverage that. And we looked at two different areas of the market that we saw a need that was matching. One was in the world of spirits, alcohol, and I didn't want to go there because there's way too much history in the past with addictions in that space in my life. And the other one was in the world of cannabis. And I wanted to take that one on. And somebody said, well, why would you do that? And I said, well, it's interesting. First of all, it's complex. I've spent my life taking on problems and that other people think are impossible. And my teams have always been successful. It doesn't matter how hard it is. Sometimes it takes more time, more money, more ingenuity, but we always get them done. And when we're looking at the world of cannabis, as I mentioned, I and a business partner designed an addiction transformation program, which we were doing for the Department of Health and Human Services and working with Dave Mara, who works for Governor Sununu in the state of New Hampshire. That program, when I was looking at the root causes of what happens for addiction, because we were looking at helping people out of addiction get to a role where they're working in life and contributing to society, but they have to have a fulfilling life. So we added all of that in the program. But I wanted to look at the preventive side, and I realized that underneath that, a lot of the people that got into opiate addictions got it through our medical system, right? We as humanity created that problem because it's no fault of yours that you got in a car accident or got hit by a car or whatever, broke your arm. You go to the hospital and they give you opiates. In fact, you have to. You don't get a choice about that when you're there. Some people become addicted right away. Some take a little bit longer. And now they wind up addicted and fighting with an addiction use disorder that they didn't step into intentionally. So I thought, well, the whole purpose is that they were trying to address pain. And as we know, in the world of cannabis, that's cannabis writ large, so this the marijuana plant and hemp, and derived products, they've been used by humanity for over 3 millennia for health. And humanity as a total is not stupid enough to use a plant for that long a time thinking it has health benefits if it did not. And it is a growing world out there that's recognizing that. And I thought that's why I stepped into that cannabis space. It's a market or an industry that needed help. I had good business experience and background. I know a lot of people who struggled in that space. And there's a whole part of the world of social equality and social justice that needs to be fixed, where people were profiled, as you know, for color. Right? And because they had some weed, they're thrown into jail, and they weren't a criminal. Now they are a criminal, and now they can't get a job and all of. So I thought that's a great business. So I stepped into that one, and I realized that to help that and drive go to market, music made sense. And I started talking with artists and areas in that, and I realized I could do go to market programs for the social commerce platform that we had. And we could drive awareness for cannabis brands. So I started working with LL, who's at Superbad Inc., and she works to manage Lil Kim. And we went to look at setting up some concerts for Lil Kim, and part of the focus was to advertise and launch her cannabis brand called Aphrodisiac. Now, Lil Kim is very, very fashion conscious and has a really, really polished eye for brand. So I realized I couldn't step into that until my business was ready to step up at that level. So we've been holding off on that one because I'm not quite ready yet. But as we did this, the world of music said, hey, you got to expand. So we changed the name of the company to the Hived. The concept being we have social commerce platforms. We hive people together around a topic area, and then you have a place that you can live together safely and communicate, learn what goes on, talk, advertise, market, sell, all in a place where our motto, or so the slogan is express yourself. To express yourself safely. I will not play the game that Mark Zuckerberg does, where I believe he will ignore anything as long as he makes dollars out of it until such time as the public pressure or political or legal pressure requires him to change it. I don't believe in that. I believe one has to have a moral and ethical standard in life. And so that's what we do. I will not do censoring of content on the network. I will not shut people down because they disagree, because I think we all have different perspectives and should in many cases disagree, as long as, and we might even have heated debates, as long as they're civil. If it becomes uncivil, so it's hate speech or name calling, the stuff that when we were children we would have had a bit of a whooping from our parents, when we grew up.
Back then,
that kind of behavior can't be tolerated on there. People need to learn to grow up. So that's my base for it. And we stepped into Hive Music, and the interest and demand has been far greater than I currently can satisfy, but we're getting there. And so we have a social commerce platform where all of the businesses are involved. We are on the 23rd of this month, they'll start selling tickets. We have ticket selling software.
That's my birthday.
That is auspicious, right?
That's amazing, man.
I was planning on May 1st, but then I had a gentleman reach out, and he's got a tour with 6 shows in April, and he wants to start ticket sales on the 23rd, and he really needed what we were doing because
it's a good day. It's a really good day.
Well, they didn't want to be screwed by Ticketmaster, right? The usual bit where, and so that's what we're setting up an alternative for that, where the artist gets the money. It's not about everybody else.
What a concept!
I know, right?
God. What? You mean pay people who actually create the music?
Dude, right? Yeah, correct.
Mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing, right? Now, I'm not a musician. Yes, I was involved in music my whole life. I never was good, right? But, my wife is exceptional. And I've been watching when people will look in San Francisco, the people will pay the house cleaners more than they'll pay their piano teacher and music coach. Really?
Wait. Waitresses make more than the musicians.
Yes, I know.
On tips alone, right?
Yeah. If you're a musician, you should feel privileged because you got paid enough to cover your expenses to show up for the night, or you had to get your roommate to give you a ride.
Oh my God, bro! You know what's wonderful? How we connect like this, because, and bless you that you understand what I'm doing with Music for Global Change, because we can change it with music. I've seen it. I've been here 6.5 decades. I'll be 67 on the 23rd. And going through all those decades, I can tell you what people were wearing back then. I go show you.
You and I grew up pretty close to the same generation. I'm 65 today, right?
Bless you, brother. Happy birthday.
It's just like, and we grew up in a very different era, right? We saw there was so much going on, as you said, when you were in Oakland, and with Berkeley and Oakland, there was all of the stuff going on in the streets, and there was
tanks. I saw tanks coming down the street, man.
And it was the whole, and that was the hippie generation. I was on the young end of it. I desperately wanted to be a hippie. I like the idea where it was, when I was a teenager, it's like, make love, not war, right? But it was that whole movement, and, people that I knew went off to Vietnam. and some didn't come back, and those that came back were messed up. And then we've had endless series since then. My psychology teacher in high school had been a POW in the Korean War, and I was like, that's what I grew up with. Every night on TV, it was the body count, watching the news, and they'd sit there, how many on Vietnam and how many on the U.S. What a way for a young person to grow up.
We had like 4 stations back to TV stations.
I know.
That's how old we are, right?
I know. Remember when color TV came out?
Oh, wait. My mom had a color screen thing that we stick on the TV. No.
Oh, and then the best part is explaining to the kids that when you wanted to change the channel, you had to get your butt off the couch, walk across, and turn it.
No, you go. No, you go this time. I went last time.
That's right.
There weren't 100-odd channels. There was like 10 channels, and that was it. Or even
no, it was 3. There was 3.
These kids don't know what
quite literally, you had 3, and
Yeah.
it was all over the air, and you'd have to sit there and move the little bunny ears around to get them just right. And at midnight, you got that pattern, and they played the national anthem, and then they turned off.
No. They tell you when to go to bed. Okay, that's enough.
That's it. Yeah.
You've been watching this screen all day. Go to bed.
Oh my goodness, there was a famous segment because there was always the nightly news with Walter Cronkite.
Oh,
and at the end, he always said, and that's the news for blah, 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 good night. And a kid wrote in a letter and said, Mr. Cronkite, please don't say good night at the end, because that's when my parents put me to bed. And he read the letter online, and he said something to the effect of, and well, you should listen to your parents. So tonight, blah, 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 good night.
Man, listen, bless you for coming on the show, brother. Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
And go have an amazing time tonight, man. And
Yeah, I'm not so much. I'm going to be around today, home today, and it's because today is March 14th. It's Pi Day, 3.14, right? And so it's talking about things round. So I spend my day eating round foods. I started this morning. I made a breakfast sandwich, and then I'll have a pizza for lunch, and then we're having fajitas for supper and a pie, of course. Nice. Pie.
Whoa! You got an agenda for your birthday.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, man. We thank you for coming on, brother.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to Skyler. All you're doing, partly the music for global change, but also what you're doing as Skyler Jett, right? Where are you going? Thanks for having me on. Okay.
Take care, Barry.
Bye.
Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.